Thanks for joining us today and taking part in this video series that we're putting together looking at AI agents and agentic AI. So firstly, let me welcome you to the conversation.
I'm very happy to be here because the quality of the questions always makes me think, right?
Well, that's what we try and do. That's what we try and do. Let's get into this. Let me just set the scene a little bit. So it seems like 2025, Chat GPT has been around for a couple of years now. AI has been discussed. LLMs have been discussed for a while. 2025, the theme seems to be AI agents and agentic AI. Vast majority of what I'm reading or events seem to be focused on how that will impact the traveler, the way they're searching, booking, or how it might impact the hotel and how they can be more efficient. Less seems to have been discussed about the potential impact, opportunities and threats on you guys, the actual hotel tech providers. So that's the angle that we wanted to take and get that discussion out there, get a wide range of views to see what you guys are seeing, because you're very much, you're kind of seeing this wave coming onto the shore and you're having to anticipate how you can be utilizing it to benefit both yourselves and your clients, but also where the threats might be coming from and anticipating it. And that's what we want to dive into today. So being a positive kind of person, I always like to start with the positive first. So looking at opportunities, what unique opportunities do you see AI agents and agentic AI could provide for the hotel tech providers, in terms of both internally, how you can use it for your own organization, but then externally as well?
Yeah, no, a very good question. I like the internal and external sort of distinction there. So I think internally, software companies, and I'm new to this, right? So it's not like I know everything, but software companies seem to me incredibly hard to scale. Every book you read, every publication you're looking at, everybody's going to talk to you about the black art of scaling companies. And you kind of wonder, like, what's so difficult about it? But then once you're in it, you kind of realize that it's a bit harder. So I think AI is at the stage that it is today, is giving an incredible opportunity to scale a software company in ways that you couldn't scale before. There is, once you're transitioning, at least in our case, from a startup mode to a scale-up mode, there is processes that are getting added, and processes can also kill innovation. And AI can come to the rescue of, let's say, automating a lot of this manual work and workflows so that you can do things more efficient, whether it's internally, whether it's even from a customer support perspective, whether it's predicting where things might break down. So you need to kind of think about it. We have, let's say, 10 people in the team or 20 people in the team. At Juyo, we're roughly 20, saying we have 20 real people and maybe we have 10 AI agents, and actually we have 30 entities as part of the team. That's how you need to think about it. There's someone in the team that asked me, hey, I think we need more people for this. And I said, yeah, you'll get an AI colleague soon. We'll give her or him a name or it or whatever you want, but that's going to be your future colleague.
Well, it's interesting because I saw a quote, I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think it was the CEO of Shopify. And he said, if you come to me with a headcount request, my first question is, why won't AI be able to do that? Now, that's like an extreme end, but that's a starting conversation, isn't it? And as you say, it's almost having these digital team members that are going to do tasks for you.
Exactly. I think Jensen Huang, who is the founder of NVIDIA, he said, the CTOs are going to be the HR department of AI agents.
Yeah.
Right? So something like that.
Yeah, I think I saw. Yeah.
From an external perspective, and sort of from a product development perspective, I think you have incredible opportunities as well to do things in a totally different way. I have to sort of balance that a little bit with saying, it seems to me that, a lot of us in the industry are kind of using the one hammer now to sort of hit on absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, AI is not the answer to serve a particular problem.
Yep.
I don't need an AI to ask what the occupancy was last month. A widget will probably do
Just do the
it
job
well,
fine.
right?
Yeah.
Do the job fine. It's not because you can do it that you should do it, right?
That's a good point.
And I think, as a tech company, you kind of need to think with the challenge that you are solving and working, like Steve Jobs was saying, that you start with a customer and the problem, and you work backwards with the technology.
Mm-hmm.
You don't take the technology and you kind of figure out, what can I do with this?
Yeah.
And I think most of us are doing that. And I can't speak for other companies, but we're trying not to do that. We're trying to reinvent how we do certain things in the platform, and sort of the red line that we have and the principles we have is one or two principles, which is, how can we make decisions even faster? That's one. And the other one, how can we surface unknown unknowns?
Right.
I think these are the two things that we are sort of thinking about. Accelerate decision making even further, even faster, and discovering unknown unknowns.
Yeah.
The things that kind of hit you that you didn't know where they come from.
It's almost using it to challenge you or pose questions to you that you hadn't considered.
Yeah, exactly. It's I have a very good example. We have a hotel customer. Booking.com changed the rules because they were pushed by this EU act, right?
Yep.
And then the hotel started losing Booking.com production from certain feeder markets because they had applied that to certain feeder markets. I don't know exactly the inside story, but the production started to going down, and it kind of went down. Like, the trend was there since 6 months.
Okay.
Until suddenly it fell off a cliff. And so it was building. And at the end of the day, this is a large hotel. This kind of cost in lost booking opportunity about $1 million, right?
Wow.
And the team has systems in place. They have revenue management systems in place. They have a modern PMS. They have Juyo. They have everything. The full shebang, properly organized, great people, etc. Still, they didn't see that coming, or they saw that coming a little bit too late.
Yeah.
So to be able to turn the ship around. So these are the stories that I hear from our customers that get me really, really excited, because what goes in my mind, how creating revenue opportunities is one, but how do you also manage downside risk? How do I make sure that these things don't happen?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of AI use cases that you can do that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Talking about a threat to their business of Booking.com changing things, the AI agents and agentic AI, undoubtedly, like any new technology, as well as presenting opportunities, also presents threats. What do you think are some of the most pressing threats that this new technology could pose to the existing hotel tech companies?
I think we're at a very interesting time, because there's a lot of consolidation of the market, and there's a lot of private equity that is sort of creating these platforms and buying companies. So we're in a period of consolidation, where you start to have like really large companies that do a little bit of everything. They're PMS, they're a channel manager, they are BI, they have RMS, they have everything. It's one package,
like
to
the
do
one
it all.
size fits all kind of thing.
The one size fits all. And I think that's a cycle, right? And we're at the sort of, at this sort of coming in the next year, 2 years now, at the peak of this cycle. When everything is consolidated, what happens? That creates, let's say, room for new entrants. So we're going to have this consolidation, but we're also going to have new entrants that come up. And usually, I think these cycles can be a little bit longer, or maybe these two things don't happen at the same time. But because you have AI just being at this moment in consolidation, the new entrants will start popping out of anywhere. So for the semi-established let's say, sort of, tech companies, this is a threat because the new kids on the block are going to do things like in magnitudes faster that you are able to do, right? If you have a little bit of legacy that you need to carry on your shoulders. And while it's, AI is expensive and the cost is going down, but there's a few things that are very expensive still to do with AI that can be done in a different way. It really doesn't matter because speed is what matters if you're a new entrant.
Yeah.
So if you can get your product to the market and being on the next curve of innovation, potentially you can dethrone a very, very fast established company. So I think we'll see like this sort of consolidation and also new entrants. I mean, we already see them today, right? This is just like popping out of nowhere. It's like, whoa, AI-powered analytics. And it's like, okay, it doesn't look very serious. They have like 5 hotels they work with, and then you probably check them out like 6 months from now, and you say, whoa, they have 100 hotels. How did that happen?
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So I think that's the threat to existing companies that are not going to dramatically leverage the technology. Like you need to be all over the place. You need to transform, like I use a lot of Steve Jobs today, but when they came up with the iPhone, they like analysts told them, what about the iPod? You're doing like 2 billion in revenue. And he was like, if we don't disrupt ourselves, someone else will do it. So the iPhone, the iPod, we just kill it ourselves before someone else kill it. So the new product is the iPhone. And I think that's one of the big lessons, at least I try to think about it every single day.
Do you think, talking of, no, we'll come on to this later because I want to talk about new entrants a little later because I've got an angle around, I'd like to get your view on investing in those kind of business and what your take will be. Let's come back a little bit to the threats to the hotel tech vendors, but this time with a perspective from the hotelier side. So, i.e., what is your view on whether or not large hotel groups, large management companies, is there a risk that they will leverage their consolidated data to build these proprietary AI agents and therefore create a widening gap, both from a technology point of view and between the large groups and the smaller groups, and how they're approaching this AI agent aspect?
That's a really, really good question. Can I call a friend or take a 50-50? No. That's a very interesting question. I think that, and I'm speaking a little bit against us, but, and I guess maybe tech companies, and we're one of them. There's this sort of idea of saying hotel companies shouldn't build their own technology because they are hotel companies, and you should leave that to the vendors. I kind of agree to that, but I don't agree completely to it. I think technology is the business, is really becoming the business in everything you do.
It feels like it a lot more, doesn't it?
Right.
Or is it at least it's equalizing itself out a little bit.
Yes, it's equalizing itself out. So if you're a hotel company, management company, whatever, you need to create some level of differentiation and some level of efficiency, or do things differently because you want to be unique in the market. And technology is one of them. If everybody uses the same vendor, it's like, okay, what's your differentiation, right? So I think the future is hybrid, and I think that's a good thing. I think, if you're Marriott, if you're Hilton, if you're these companies, there is parts of the technology that perhaps you want to develop yourself, and that's absolutely okay. But you can't do everything yourself and just not work with the tech partners. I mean, there's few things that are core, there's a few things that are not core. So, and you need to figure out what's your business model and saying, what creates value at the end of the day, and what is something that defends our position versus something that someone else is doing in a better way, and that's a strategic decision. So I don't see it as a threat, to be honest. I think maybe that's how things will evolve. I think that you can definitely get some analytics going very, very fast today, even if you're a hotel company. So, you had to have a development team, you had to hire these people. Okay, maybe today you still have to hire these people, but you can let AI do the job. But there's still some fundamentals, like you need to set up an infrastructure, you need to think about data governance, you need to think about security, you need to, like, all of these things is important, even at the same level, right? So that there's a little bit more to it than creating a dashboard.
No, that makes sense. On the flip side, it's often said, and accurately, the hotel industry generally is a little slower to adopt new technology. We know historically, if we take the major groups as examples, they've tried building their own solutions to varying degrees of success. And at the end of the day now, do they really want to be going down that route? Could the threat come from the other angle, i.e. the threat to the hotel vendors, that if it becomes easier and quicker to go in and code whatever you have to do to build these agents, that will the smaller groups or the independent properties that maybe to stay competitive move faster and look at this new technology, will they be the ones who might just say, well, actually, I'm not going to have 6, 7, 8 different bits of technology that I got to rely on the APIs all working, and I'll just get a core solution that brings my data into one place, and then I'll just bring agents to come on top of that and have that developed for me. Could that be the bigger threat if you're not at an enterprise end of the hotel tech end and you're focused a lot on the medium and medium-sized small groups and independent hotels? Could the hotels doing it themselves be a threat?
So the way that I see it, and again, the answer is always nuanced. I don't think it's a black and white, right? But what we are currently seeing today and the last maybe 18 months is the underlying technology and the new infrastructure on top of that will serve as the base of everything else to be built on top. If you think that the last thing when this happened was the first one started, it was AWS, right? We were the cloud.
Yep.
So the cloud served as the infrastructure on which, on top of that, we could build everything.
Yep.
Blockchain served as the infrastructure on top of it to build, all the all the cryptocurrencies and smart contracts and all of these things. And AI is the new infrastructure where everything will be built on top of that, basically. This is the new thing, right? The difference with previous infrastructures, I think, is the fact that this has gone directly to consumer. Which is suddenly like the consumer adoption was faster than the corporate adoption. AWS didn't happen, blockchain didn't happen. It was the corporates that went on it, right? So now it's directly. So I think that's one difference. So I do think that that said, it becomes easier for a hotel to build something on top of that. But then you also have to have the skills to build that on, to build whatever you want on top, right? So I think if I have to say it, I think most of the disruption will come from the companies that are going to leverage this new infrastructure. I think that's it's new entrants. I think that's what's going to happen. More perhaps than hotel companies, although it does make it also easier for hotel companies to build something, for sure. There's an AI coding company that's called Replit that grew from 10 million revenue to 100 million revenue in 6 months.
Wow.
I mean,
nice.
That's like that's insane. That's insane. Can you build a full analytics platform, for instance, with the sophistication that Juyo has today? No, you can't. But in a year from now, maybe you can. I don't know, could be the case. So the way we think about it is, in that case, if it's possible, we should build the next generation ourselves, because otherwise someone's going to do it and then we're out.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because that brings me on to kind of where the landscape of the current hotel tech vendors might change. You've spoken about new entrants. One of the things that came up, or one of the points that came up in a previous discussion I've had on this, is they were saying that if you rely purely on AI as your USP, then that is a highly risky strategy, because the ability for people to enter the market and use this is easier than it did. So as an investor, you're always looking for how hard is it for someone to replicate the business that you're investing in.
Right.
And if the business is built around AI agents and building AI agents, and someone else could start up and do the same, and it just be a straight out shootout as to who gets the client, and it can be done quickly and cost effectively, I kind of wonder how that model works, and how those companies have got to scale pretty quickly, because it's going to be hard, I would think, maybe for them to draw in investment unless they have something absolutely unique. But if it's replicable, then it's not that unique. That's my take on it. I'd be interested in your take, how you see the vendor landscape changing, how new entrants will come in. Will we see this consolidation continue, so we end up with like 4 or 5 one-size-fits-all platforms, and then a bunch of other vendors that are competing for that best of breed with different markets? What's your take?
I think the large companies, like what they're thinking about is exactly what you said, is defendability and unique IP. If you're in the startup phase, you're thinking survive. If you're in scale up, so it's like do whatever it takes. If you're in the scale up phase, it's like do what works to go to the next level and make it repeatable. And if you're, let's say, the big one, then you're thinking, how do I defend that position? How do I create, let's say, lock-in into the ecosystem, and that people cannot go away from it? So that's why you have all these companies that suddenly have everything and they offer everything, because then it becomes challenging for someone to leave them, so to speak. I think from an investment perspective, the VCs are also going to get challenged, because already you had more companies bootstrapping. We're one of them. We don't have investments from venture capital. But I think just because you can scale a company, like it will become easier and easier, and you require less capital as well. And maybe you don't even need a coding team, and you can set up something from scratch. But why would you take VC money, right? You'd say, you know what, I'm going to run a company here that's producing 3 million in revenue, which is serious money, for instance, right? And you say, this is going to be 50% profitable. That's like, as a founder, I mean, that's most companies fail. But as a founder, you're like, hey, that's awesome. I mean, why should I go down and like hunt like a unicorn that actually I might get killed in the process? So I think while this consolidation is happening, I think a lot of founders will choose that path of bootstrapping easier and easier. And that will say, you know what, I have a certain niche and I'm going to cater to that niche, and I'm going to do that niche very well. So it might be, and I'm thinking about that as we go, right, that you say, well, in that case, I'm going to go for the niche of, I don't know, like, adult only resorts, whatever, right? Just an example. Or, I'm city hotels that are in, Taiwan, whatever. And that's my market kind of thing. And I don't need to go anywhere else. I don't know. I'm just saying that you might go for that niche, because venture capital is sort of pushing you to capture the market. It's kind of win it all or die. And now I think the game is changing. It's saying, I can do things very, very well in my own niche, and I can scale this, and I don't need capital.
That makes a lot of sense. You because you come from the hotelier side, have then started the technology company, you're working with groups as well. Just back to our earlier question about hotel groups maybe leveraging their own data and building proprietary. Because they may be reluctant to do that because they're not tech companies, but they can see the advantage of having maybe a greater control. Could there be that new entrants, rather than looking at VC for capital investment, they actually go to some of the actual hotel groups, and that becomes a potential funding source, and then they get to lock down that piece of technology? Could that be something that evolves, or are the hotel groups just not that wired in that particular way?
I think that's always, it's a good question. I think it could be the case. I don't think we've seen yet, let's say, investment or maybe hotel companies buying, let's say, a piece of technology, which is actually surprising if you think about it. I think if you're a public company, like the really big ones, you kind of need to be explaining to the market what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. And then the sort of public markets, they don't really understand if you're doing 100 things, and that they just, it's very difficult. They like it when you have a clear story, right?
Yeah.
Like Accor has been, one a good example is that they've done, it was a bit unclear before Bazin came with Accor, what Accor was about. Am I a franchise company? Am I ownership? Am I developing technology? Am I doing prepaid services? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then investors look at it and the market and they say, I don't understand. What is this? And how does it all interlink? And how can I give an opinion on that? But if you're pretty clear on what you're doing, then, perhaps you can sort of justify of saying, hey, we're doing X, Y, Z, and we're buying this company because it's helped us there. Could be the case. You're right.
Yeah, because I mean, Accor that you gave as the example, they went on an acquisition spree for a bit, didn't they? But all of that was kind of geared towards the services for the guests, so you could see the correlation. I mean, back to your original point of how technology is maybe equalizing out, there may be a narrative in there that could work, that if technology is helping the guest in terms of the way that it's helping them to search and book and experience with the hotel, and that's helping to look at long-term value of that guest, then maybe there becomes an argument. Be interesting to see. But as you say, yeah, it's not a space that they've typically got into. Just keeping my hotelier hat on for a moment, there's a lot of talk, obviously, about these AI agents. A lot is written, a lot of events. Every speaker is talking about it, which is understandable. But I think at times there feels, I just want to get your view, because you're dealing with this magic word every day that is becoming more and more important, and that is data. And for me, I kind of wonder if either hoteliers will just say, okay, yeah, this is new and shiny, fine, but I'm not interested in it. I'll wait for my tech vendor to develop something and then that'll take care of it. Or you'll get some that will think, yeah, we'll start going down this avenue. But to me, the pinch point really seems to be the data. And that, what words of caution would you have for hoteliers that are thinking of leaning into and maybe embracing this AI agent hype?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think also that, we're definitely in the hype now. And I think that it's, probably everybody would disagree with me, but whatever, I'm just going to say it anyhow. If we can have a debate with other tech companies. I think that the hype will kind of go a little bit down, and that we'll realize that, because that this agent thing is not exactly there yet. It's going to happen definitely, but it's not really now. I don't think we're yet to uncover and get the full value out of it, because all of this agentic AI needs to run on good data. It needs to run on interconnected systems. It needs to run on new infrastructure. It needs to run on there's a lot of ifs and buts,
Yeah.
right? And so you need to think, if a process was already not working manually because you had three disconnected system, or for whatever reason, that one is cloud, the other is semi-cloud, the other one is God knows what it is, how do you want an AI agent to run on top of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the big platforms probably have, that do everything. Let's say they're going to be able to leverage that a little bit bigger, but also they have bought a lot of companies, so it's going to take them quite some time to sort of do that. So I think we still have a lot of work into the base infrastructure of the technology where it is. Our fastest growing, not our fastest growing PMS, but our biggest PMS that we have is still Opera V5
Mm-hmm.
in our customers, which is sitting in the basement. And we don't service serious customers. This is not like this is sophisticated management companies. It's really like, and this is our biggest PMS. So, I'm kind of laughing about it. If I say, well, we're going to have agentic AI, where do you want it to run? On V5 in the basement? I mean, so we still have a little bit of road there. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I think so, because I think what that illustrates is that, to the point, the agent needs to access the data. The data
Correct.
needs to be structured and clean. And also, it's, you can have, to your point of, if you built a tech stack of lots of different providers, they could all bring an AI element to it. But those agents that are working within that are just looking at the data within that technological piece. And so you could have slight different interpretations of what the situation is because they're looking at different sets of data. So until that really is consolidated, and then you build the agents that are working strategically to look at that consolidated data, it kind of still feels as if it's a piecemeal approach to dealing with this. And that to me almost feels as if it could create more complexity that is absolutely necessary. And I think you said at the beginning, identify a problem that you have and see if an agent could help you to do that, but don't just push all your chips in on AI agents just because that seems to be the new thing. I mean, we all heard about metaverse 2-3 years ago, and we had all the articles about people going out and buying virtual real estate. Well, I don't know where those hotels are getting booked anymore. So, and that's, we're at a different space with these AI agents. Yes. I get that, but it's also sometimes the hype leads far in advance of the reality, which is, I think, the point you were making there. Just quickly, while we're on the data topics, because it to me, it seems to have a bearing, because if I'm a hotelier, I'm thinking, right, I might embrace this. I'm now going to pass over to an agent. So back to what you were saying, this digital employee, so to speak, that's going to be doing work for me. Well, I'm giving them the responsibility to do something with that data. So two things that flag to me is, one, compliance. Am I using the data in the right way? Am I sure that whoever's building that agent has built it with that in mind? And the second thing is then security, because we all know of people that want to find a weakness that gives them access into the data. And does this bring a slight chink in the armor as you kind of create another layer to access your data? What's your take on those two things, compliance and security?
No, I think you need to take that very, very seriously, right? Because like you can't take, at least for us as a hotel tech company, you can't take customer data and start distributing it all across, right? And the saying, asking like 100 AIs to do that, and not. So you need to set up a lot of safeguards, and you need to do things properly. Which, to your point, let's say the young companies that come today, they don't really think about this so much. But if you, if as a tech company, you start to sign maybe a customer that has 20 hotels, 40 hotels, 50 hotels, you better have things organized and be able to articulate what you're doing in terms of security and where their data is going and data sovereignty and all that kind of stuff. This is very, very important. I'm a bit concerned with what the EU is doing with the regulation, which is going like too much regulation, and then we're also going to lose competitiveness in European companies, right? Because if American companies kind of wild west, and the other ones are suffocating, right? So there must be an answer somewhere in the middle, but I would say the security and the data governance part is very, very important to organize properly.
Okay, final question, because I'm conscious of your time. So we have all this discussion going on. We're at a point in time when hoteliers are starting to think about budgets, getting budgets together. They're going to be looking at hotel technology. Hopefully, they should be looking at hotel technology and a budget for that for 2026. So they've got all this noise going on around agents. We've got all this potential consolidation. We've got some saying, no, you would need to be looking at best of breed. Others saying, no, one size fits all. What if you were sitting in a room with 50 hoteliers and they were saying, right, Vassilis, how should I be thinking? Early stages. How should I be thinking about my budget for 2026 and what I should be doing from a technological point of view? What would you be telling them?
Good. Not that I have the ultimate answer, but I think you kind of need to look at your own business and what your own sort of what you're trying to achieve and what's your North Star and what kind of business you are. So, and that's different if you're a hotel ownership company, if you're a management company, if you're a franchisor, if you're an individually dependent hotel, etc. So there's not indeed one size fits all.
Valid points.
But I think it's you need to kind of say, doctor, where does it hurt most, right? It's like, does it hurt? Does my head hurt, or my arm hurts, or my legs hurt, or where does it hurt? Where is it expensive? Where do I have inefficiencies? And then you need to sort of prioritize that and starting from there, right? If you're in a country where payroll cost is very, very high, and you have, let's say maybe an oversized team to service the guest, then you need to think, how do I apply AI there? How can I make this more efficient? If you have an issue with something, I don't know what it is, pricing, whatever, then that's what you need to. So you need to like pick your battles, right? And don't try to boil the ocean as every time. So that's one approach that you can have, and the other approach that you can have, which is bolder, which would be my approach, which is saying, you know what, I like this white canvas approach, saying, you know what, let's kind of think about because this is going to disrupt everyone. Let's kind of think about our business in a white sort of paper, so to speak.
Yeah, so like a blank sheet of paper. If you had to start again, what would we?
What would it be? How will that look like? And sometimes you can do both approaches. You can say, often we have it in our company where we say, what are the next 5 improvements we need to do? And then on the side, we also talk, what if we were to start this from scratch now, how we would do it? And that kind of forces us to see maybe where these two things come together. So, it could be approach A, it could be approach B, it could be, approach A and B. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't have budget discussions anyhow, because it's like, who cares? We produced a budget in July for like 18 months down the road. Who knows where we're going to be?
That's a valid point. I think what's interesting, and you've echoed, I think what a lot of people that we've had these conversations have also stated, is it's interesting that they, rightly in my opinion, but it goes to the pain point. It's like, it's not about just setting a figure. Okay, well, we'll have X amount in the budget that we're going to invest. It's like that number should correlate to a problem you are looking to solve, or an opportunity you're not maximizing at the moment, or an efficiency that you want to gain. So it's almost like justifying what that figure is for and what you would expect an improvement if you were to invest. So back to that classic ROI, but it's not the ROI necessarily of the technology, although that will deliver that result, but it's kind of understanding what you need as a hotel. And maybe, as you say, that's where maybe both scenario A, what's the problem, or scenario B, if we could scrap it and start from scratch, what would it look like? Because both will make you ask questions of yourself. It's the unknown unknowns that maybe it makes you ask yourself about. One might be slightly more known if you know the pain. What will we do if we had to start again? That's the unknown unknown, isn't it? I guess.
No, exactly, and so business fundamentals don't change. You gotta have customers, you gotta have revenue, and you need to do it at a way that you can generate some profit and make them happy. And now you have a new tool in the toolkit in the journey, and it doesn't need to be the toolkit, but it's a new box that you have with you. And it will leverage some of these challenges. That's how it goes. And tomorrow we'll have a new toolkit, But I think one last thought is where I'm excited about is where when technologies start converging, when different technologies start converging. So if you have AI converging with, fintech, for instance, and your AI can take your credit card and do things with it and book things, and when you have convergence in technologies, like I always bring the Uber example, which is precise geolocation, machine learning, mobile phone, fintech, all that, they came together, then Uber was born.
Yeah.
So I think, like when things are going to start converging, I think we'll see a lot of innovation. And I think probably the next 2 years are going to be very, very cool to look at what entrepreneurs will do with all that new technology. I think that's going to be cool.
Certainly going to be cool. Going to be very interesting as well.
It will. Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. On that note, I always appreciate having the conversation with you and getting your thoughts. So thanks so much for joining us.